Welcome to the Hockey Writers Blackhawks Banter, a weekly show with our top Chicago Blackhawks writing crew, bringing you the latest news, rumors, trades, player grades, game results, and much more. From training camp to the playoffs, from Chelsea Dagger to the Madhouse on Madison, our team covers everything that happens with the Hawks. So get comfortable, grab a beverage. It's time for some Blackhawks Banter. Blackhawks Banter.
Hello, Blackhawks fans, and welcome to episode 72 of Blackhawks Banter, brought to you by the Hockey Writers. I am Gail Kauchak, your host for tonight, and we have Brooke and Gail, as you know. We have a very special guest with us tonight that I've been kind of hinting towards to tell you about. This here is Amy Irvin, and Amy is a photographer actually for the Hockey Writers. She works out of the Wells Fargo Center, the home of the Philadelphia Flyers. And we would just like to say welcome, Amy. How are you today?
Welcome. Thank you so much. I'm good. Thanks for having me.
Okay, we've got a bunch of questions we want to ask you about this photographer job. So Brooke and I have both kind of put together some questions, and I guess I'll just go ahead and get started with the obvious, right? Can you just give us a brief overview of being a photographer for the Hockey Writers, and how long have you been doing this, actually, by the way, too?
Yeah. So again, thanks for having me on the banter here. So I've been shooting I've been credentialed to shoot hockey. I'll say it that way. Since the 2012-2013 season.
Okay.
I was actually credentialed with a local site around here that got started, called Flyers Faithful. And gosh, that was 2012, 2013. And then I started shooting for the Hockey Writers. I switched over the credentials to the Hockey Writers in the 2013, 2014 season, later in the season, probably more 2014. So yeah, it's been 10 years, 9 seasons, you know how hockey's funky like that, but shot through COVID, all of it, like it's been quite a ride, but majority of it has been spent with the Hockey Writers.
How did you end up then, like the Hockey Writers hiring you from the Faithful?
Yeah, at the time of course you're in the building. It's a little different now, but at the time, the photographers, we all had our assignment meeting in the press box. So we, knew a lot of the writers from Twitter, social media, reading their stuff, and then you just kind of became friends with them. So I actually was friends with the person who wrote for the Hockey Writers that covered the Flyers at the time, and he and I just got to talking. I mean, I'd known him since I started, and he and I just got to talking one day, and I said, look, if they're ever looking for a photographer, let me know, because he was there every game. There was a full season credential there, whereas with Flyers Faithful, a lot of times it was game to game in the beginning. So with the Hockey Writers, once I started covering it with him, the next full season, I had the ultimate laminated media credential pass, right? Which is what everybody wants to strive for. Yes.
Yeah. Oh man, that's awesome. And obviously they all liked your pictures, and it just made sense to do this. Well, I know for the question, so I'll stop talking.
Yeah, okay. No problem.
No, I love it. So first of all, Amy, congratulations on your long career. I'm just amazed. And I kind of was thinking when you were talking how, one, I love your photographs so much, because if you guys have read our articles, for the viewers that have read our articles, most of our pictures have come from you.
Yes,
and photographs. Yeah. And photographs in hockey in general, I think just really help just boosting the connection that people have to hockey. I think it's one of the most important aspects to me. So I love that we have that around the league. And like you said, hockey is a very small world family, but because of the photos, I kind of was always curious about, is there any point in a game, before or after any point of a game, where you get the best photographs? What is the best scene for a photograph?
Oh gosh. So first, let me just say, when I go back and look at the photographs that I took the first couple of seasons, I want to, again, on record, say thank you for the Hockey Writers to keep going with me, because I go back and look at some of those. I'm like, what was anyone thinking? putting these attached with wonderful articles, like what was happening there. So it's a progression, right? It's a progression over the years, and I still have so much to learn and want to get better. And one of the things that I think I finally, when you start doing it, right, the ultimate is, do you get a hole, right? Do you get one of those photo holes in the arenas, right along the ice?
Yeah.
And you kind of feel like that moment when you get one of those photo holes, you kind of feel like, whoa, I made it,
Yeah.
And you realize that the photo holes are fantastic. You're also limited unless you're sitting in the team photographer hole, which he has this beautiful view of basically the entire ice. You're really limited to like a certain piece of the rink, and in some cases it might be only like 40% view line. So sometimes you're sitting there and you're literally watching a play on the other end of the ice through the plexiglass, like every other fan, or you're looking up at arena vision. So I think in the beginning for me, it was kind of, gosh, if I could get in a photo hole, I'm going to get like the picture,
Right.
And now I feel as the years have gone on and you start to learn from other people around you that it's not really the spot that you're at. It's what are you capturing? What are you taking in that wherever you happen to be assigned? Because a lot of people don't realize this, and we get the question all the time is, do you shoot here is this your spot for the game? And we have a handful of photographers that do have their set spots. And then the rest of us are kind of assigned. So we could be at a hole. We could be now in Philly, we have spaces that you can actually sit behind the glass. So behind the goaltender. So you all may have some, right? When they played the Blackhawks, right? Yeah. Where, I might've been positioned either behind if the Flyers were attacking, well, now I'm sitting behind a Blackhawk goalie. And if the Blackhawks were attacking, I'm sitting behind a Flyers goalie. So you're getting all these kind of different viewpoints, and I could probably pick every spot that I've shot in and talked about like a favorite shot or something that I've taken. So I feel like it's not so much like I'm waiting for the shootout, right? Which Lord knows let me be clear. I'm never waiting for a shootout ever. Like I don't, no, thank you. Like, no, thank you. But there's certain things that happen in a game that, you kind of think to yourself like, oh, somebody gets a hat trick. Oh, okay. Well, what's happening around me, right? That I could capture? Like, is there a certain hat on the ice? Is there a certain player moment that's happening? As a Flyers fan, full disclosure, season tickets for 2 decades. I can tell you, Claude Giroux's 1000th game was like, I couldn't even believe that I was there shooting that game. Yeah. That's one of those moments where it's like, when he first touched the ice in Philly, I was sitting in my seats in the upstairs, right? In the upper mezzanine. And now I'm sitting here and I'm photographing this guy. So I think it's not so much like what's happening on the ice for me. It's where am I located? And if there is something that's happening, how do I capture a shot? And it's not always the shot that people think, right? I love goaltenders.
Right.
So I'm a lot of times hyper focused on a goaltender because I just love them. I love the mask. I love the moves.
Too bad we don't have Sean here tonight.
Yes. It's crazy. But so I think for me, I've learned that it's just be in the moment, with hockey, you can kind of predict a little bit of where things might go. So you can kind of be ready for it. But, I think from that perspective, I've learned over time, don't wait for the shots, because it may happen right in front of you and you're missing it.
Yeah, I totally agree. Because you know what? Hockey, what you just said kind of resonated with me. Hockey is such an expressive sport,
Oh, yeah.
Like you said, any point in time, you might get the best shot ever, even when you're not expecting it, because it is such an emotional, expressive game. So I think that's really cool what you were just talking about, because you can catch so many angles. So I love hearing about it.
Yeah. The facial expressions, I've caught a couple interesting facial expressions. Usually my Instagram account, when I post things, I'm the one that has like the weirdo caption underneath it. Like I had a photograph of a goalie and a bunch of players, and they were all kind of looking down at the ice because the puck was down there. And the caption was like, "Nobody move, I dropped my contact." You know what I mean? You can pull from these just amazing expressions and positionings in these photos to really just kind of think of something different. So I love that.
Yeah.
I'm still a little bit confused though. Are you in the same place the whole night, or do you get to move around?
No, yeah. If there aren't very many photographers there, I might be in the same place, right? So we might get the benefit of being assigned at a hole for all 3 periods.
The whole thing, okay.
For the most part though, I'm going to say like 90% of the games over the last 10 years that I've shot, if not more, we're assigned each period. So one period I might be down, I might be at a hole. The second period I might be up on the concourse level, like the lower bowl level, right? You know, as the fans are walking in.
Okay.
And third period, I might be behind the glass at a hole again, different concourse spot.
Okay.
So it varies, you know, if we're lucky, right? We get a hole an entire night, or, you know, we'll perch right behind a goaltender and, you know, be able to get those shots that are coming in a little closer. You can't really get too many far shots because of the plexi is just not a forgiving, it's not forgiving to the camera when you go beyond
Right, it's probably reflection.
the face-off point, you know, it's a little touch and go there, but yeah.
Yeah.
But I like that. I like it.
Yeah.
Totally interesting. Brooke, I think you had one other question, didn't you?
Yeah, I did. I guess especially now because you've been in the industry so long, and I know you've seen so much, like you're talking about Claude Giroux's 1000th game.
Yeah.
And so I guess I was wondering, just from a hockey fan standpoint, have you had any fun encounters with any players, or have some fun stories to tell about?
Oh,
Yeah, I know hockey players are
here.
I know. Yeah, it's funny because I think, you know, for anybody, when you first start doing this, right, whether you're a writer or a photographer or whatever position you happen to be in, and you get that kind of first taste to go in, right, and you get your credential, and now all of a sudden you're in this place. Like, I think the second or third game that I had a credential for, remember back, you know, prior to COVID, we had all of our meetings, all of our photo meetings upstairs in the press box. And the press box in Philadelphia, you've got writers, you've got scouts, you've got all these. Plus in Philly, you know, it is like a haven for alumni, right? The Flyers alumni might be walking around if they aren't doing anything. But at the time, you know, it was Mark Howe was also a scout. Oh. So here I am standing there, and I happen to turn, and there's Mark Howe having a conversation with Ron Hextall at the time. And I was like, what world am I in right now? Like, what universe, like, where am I right now that I am standing like 5 feet away from 2 legends in this town,
right,
getting coffee? Like, where is my brain? This is not me. This is somebody who has possessed my body. So I think from the get-go, you have that almost like a starstruck feel, especially if you're a real sports fan of the team that you happen to be credentialed for in that, you know, in their city, you know, you have that moment. But you know, the fun ones though are the ones too that couple seasons in, maybe 2 seasons in, I happened to be shooting the Flyers warm-ups. And I was behind the glass, and I was looking down at my camera. So I have the plexi like right here, and I'm looking down at my camera, and I hear this whap against the plexi. And I look up, and there is this perfect circle of water right where my face is. And right beyond the circle of water is Scott Hartnell grinning and laughing. And I was like, these people, like, they just have a ball when they're down there. And I think that's probably one of the fun things. I usually shoot the visiting team warm-ups, right? To get photos
Yeah.
for the hockey writers
Yeah.
and stuff. So I'm always down there for the visiting team warm-ups, and you get like Pasternak likes to, sometimes he'll put his glove in front of a lens, or they just have fun with it. And I just think that's cool. My friends are always like, oh, they probably know you. I'm like, they would not know me if they saw me on the street, but they're just having a good time. And that's all that matters.
But they probably recognize you there, right? They're like,
I'm sure.
there's that
Yeah,
photographer.
I'm sure there's something like probably when they're, I mean, I'm always sitting in the same spot for warm up. So any of these teams that come in and out, and I always had the same, especially the last few years, I had the same mask on, and so it wasn't hard to find. But the only other photo, and I'll finish this. And if you have any other questions, of course, I'm open to them. I took a photo of, it was a goal celebration, and it was Jake Voracek. And the lens I had on my camera was my 70 to 200. So I'm at a hole, and I had the 70 to 200 because I was shooting the goalie, right? So it gives me a nice tight shot, and I can still pull back. And the Flyers scored. And the goal celebration started to like move towards me on that side. I'm like, okay. So I just started shooting everything I could with this to then reach down and grab a shorter lens to get them as they were coming closer. And when I started going back through the photos, I have this perfect shot of Jake Voracek giving a glove wash on Giroux's face. And Giroux is basically like, ugh, like he's just got this look in his face, like, please no. And it turned out that for the next couple of years, Giroux would post that picture. Again, he probably would not know me from a hole in the wall, but he would post that picture on Jake's birthday, like, happy birthday, my brother, or, whatever. And the first time he did it, I woke up to friends going, I think you need to check Giroux's social media. And I was like, what are you talking about? And I looked, sure enough, there's my photo. So where did you
get that picture? Wait, like, will you put it on Instagram then?
I did. Yeah,
okay.
I put it on Instagram, and I think I put it on Twitter as well. So, every so often I get the urge to kind of tag them, and I kind of like tagging people in like the fun ones, know. And that one just kind of worked out, and they seemed to enjoy it, and it was that picture resurfaces every so often, and I'm proud to say that I was one of the photographers chosen to display photos in the press box a couple years ago. And that was one of the photos I submitted, and that's one of the ones that they put up. So of the 4 photos that I have hanging in the press box, Jake Voracek giving Claude Giroux the glove is one of them. Yeah.
Oh, that's got to be so rewarding, I have to think, just being able to experience that, especially as a hockey fan, but also, like you said, these people are legends, and you get you're right up front, and you get that shot, and that's amazing to me.
Yeah, there's another photographer, and I, every so often, like, her and I will go up just to double check and see if the pictures are still hanging. And one of the PR guys is like, yeah, we're going to have to probably like get a new batch from everybody at some point. We're like, okay, just tell us when. We know. Yeah. Like, we're ready. So yeah, it's really cool. It's really cool.
Yeah, that's absolutely fascinating. I just, again, none of us really understand or know like what you do. And so I just thought it would be really interesting to kind of hear about it. And I appreciate you sharing those stories and kind of talking about the personal aspect of it.
Yeah.
That's really, really phenomenal. And we just want to thank you, because I think to a certain extent, we probably get the boring pictures, right? I mean, you talk about some of these like pictures that aren't really like article worthy, right?
Well, you know what? It's funny though, because a lot of the, one of the things that I tried to do, because as you guys know, we don't have very many photographers at all at the Hockey Writers, right? Hopefully that will change.
One of 3 now, right? 1 of 3?
Yes. And so I know, right? I know going into every season that because we don't have a photographer in some of the other divisions, that's why usually I'm camped out at the visitors warm-ups, because I can at least get, whoever the writers are requesting, but I can at least get other players and maybe some obscure players that we might only have 1 or 2 shots of because they only skated in warm-ups. But then, you know what, even for the game though, I have people ask me this question all the time, and I tell them, I'm going to say probably, and you know, again, the editors can easily attest to this, but I'm going to say the of an album percentage wise, I'm going to say 70 to 90% of the photos that I take in the games are not of the Flyers. They're the visiting team. Right. And I'll take it, whatever they're doing. Like I'll plan for some, I'll look for some if I can, you know, grab a certain thing. But, you know, if it's whoever it is, right? If whoever it is from the other team, yeah, then you know what, if you're coming within my eyesight and my view line, I'm gonna take your photo. You know, just so that we have some, and to get some action shots and in-game shots and, you know, different things. And yes, I will admit there are times where I do miss, as we call it, pandemic hockey with no fans. I mean, no offense, I am a fan, so I say that, you know, no offense to anybody, right? But the spaces that we could shoot from we'll never get them again. We'll never get them again. So yeah, I try as much as I can to get visiting teams into Philly, because I can get shots of those Flyers any day and every day. But I really only get one shot at Chicago.
Yeah. And we appreciate that so much, because for our viewers here, we put Amy to work. She was saying how she was messaging us saying how she was going to be at the Flyers Blackhawks game. When was that? Like last month or a couple months ago?
Yeah.
And you were like, if you guys have any specific requests, and we were like, okay, here we go. Let's get everyone. Let's get Strome, Kane, Toews, Jones. Like we went through the whole roster. Yeah. You're a saint. Thank you.
Yeah. And you want to know what? It was also got pictures of everybody.
I'm sorry. Go ahead, Gail. I'm sorry. I cut you off.
No, I was just going to say, you got all the pictures that we requested. So it's phenomenal. We love having you.
Yeah, it's a bit, you know, I knew coming out of COVID, right? Because it's the other thing. I mean, obviously you miss a little bit of the, you know, that pandemic hockey because the nets were down, and we could walk and stand like higher on the ends and get them like play coming at us, and just the different vantage points. But, you know, one of the things that really just kind of like, again, you know, you play the same 7 teams. That year, right? So it's like after a while, I'm like, oh my gosh, if I have to shoot the Islanders again. So like even coming into this season, it was like, are we shooting the Islanders again? Like, weren't they just here? Like, I feel like I have 1,000 photographs of Pasternak. I can't do it again, you know, like, so all the 7 teams in the Metro, I was like, I'm out. Like, I can't. If we need anybody from these teams, there's got to be something wrong, right? Like I'm missing the mark. So I knew when the Blackhawks came in, when, you know, pick it, the Kings, like any of those teams that as a photographer, that we only get one opportunity to shoot a season, I was ready for it. Like mentally prepared that when I went out to the channels and said, who do you need? Every single time I was going to get everybody. Okay. But you got to narrow it down. Give me a priority, you know, because I'll go out with the intention to shoot everyone, but give me the priority so that I know that I'm hitting the mark.
Yes. I know I felt bad because you were probably like, okay, I was expecting either just like a Jones or a Kane. And then we were like, okay, how about this? How about this?
No, just know fully, the obscure ones.
Just know fully. I'm going to say, and there's a couple coming up, you know, the Flyers play the Ducks on Saturday, you know, and I will go back and look, and I'm thinking, okay, well, the Flyers haven't played the Ducks since 2019.
Couple years,
right? So that's where it kind of, and there are a couple that were like the very beginning of 2020, right? Because it was only in the beginning of March.
Yeah.
But still, I fully prepped myself knowing that whenever some of these teams were coming into Philly this year, I was going to definitely get a workout on the old lenses. So that's okay. Keeps me out of trouble. Keeps me busy during the game.
We're pretty much out of time here today, but this has honestly been just fascinating. And I appreciate you sharing and just giving us some insight into all this, because like I said, we really had no idea. And so we had all these questions and got some awesome answers. So thank you for being on the show tonight.
Oh, thank you both for having me. And I'll say go Flyers, because I can't say go Banter. How about that? I'll say go Banter.
Woo-hoo!
I'll do that.
Oh, it's okay. You can say go Flyers because you're a fan and we're fans, and that's why we're here. That's what we're all about. So we'll say go Flyers for you.
Thank you so much. It's been a pleasure.
Yes. Thank you so much for making the Hockey Writers what it is. Truly, you make our content what it is, and I'm so thankful. So thank you for what you do.
Thank you.
All right. We are about midway through our show. So I just wanted to remind everybody that our show tonight is brought to you by Morning Skate, a newsletter that comes out Monday through Friday with awesome blurbs and stuff in it. It only takes you about 5 minutes usually to read through the whole thing. It's a perfect way to start your morning. Morningskate.io. If you haven't subscribed already, it's free. Sign up for our Morning Skate newsletter. So now let's get to, it was awesome to have Amy on and talk a little bit about photography for the Hockey Writers. Really, really interesting stuff. But we are going to, obviously this is Blackhawks banter. So let's talk a little bit of Blackhawks. Brooke and I are both going to touch on the week that was. And let me just preface this by saying it has not been a good week because 4 losses in a row. Buffalo Sabres 6-5. Florida Panthers, they lost 4-0. Tampa Bay Lightning 5-2. And then on this past Sunday, 3-2 in overtime for the Arizona Coyotes. So 4 losses in a row. Brooke, what would you like to talk about from this past week?
I had a blast. I don't know about you, but I had a blast. It was a great weekend. We were vibing. But you know what? My thing that kept popping up this week was playing down to competition. And that might sound kind of weird because the Blackhawks are not good. So playing down to competition is kind of probably doesn't make sense. Yeah. But for them, I think it does, though, because the player or the teams that they should beat, they're still not beating. And that's kind of the kicker. They were doing that in the beginning of the season. They were beating the teams they could. And then they kind of just really kind of blew up towards the teams that were better. But now it just seems like it's kind of just falling apart that way again. And I know we talked about before that they're like too good to be bad and too bad to be good. They're like somewhere in the middle. But like when it comes to Buffalo, I know is kind of like the Blackhawks in a way where they're rebuilding and they're kind of going through the motions and stuff. And they're better this year. I think they're on the right track, but I still think maybe on paper, the Blackhawks are a better team. And that's a team they should have beaten. They had very bad goaltending that game. And to give up, what was it? A 4-goal or was
That's the thing, you're up 4-0. How do you lose that?
Yeah, a 4-0 lead against Buffalo. It's not like it was against the Panthers. Like we know the Panthers do that stuff all the time, but it was against Buffalo. That's the kicker to me. And well, like you said, any team, any NHL team, if you have a 4-0 lead, you should not give up a 4-0 lead. It doesn't matter how good or bad you are as a team. That just shouldn't happen. So I felt like, okay, that was the game. You should have won. And you didn't. That was playing down to competition, in my opinion. And then Arizona, the lovely Arizona Coyotes. That's another team you should beat. I think what they say, they had 12 players out, or like 12 new faces in that, and they're a very bad team. Obviously, they struggled a lot this year, but they've beaten the Blackhawks twice. So you know what? I got to give them credit because they're doing something right there, where they seem like their competition goes up and ours went down again. I don't know if it's like expectations of thinking that they just got those wins in the bag. Like Buffalo and Arizona, they've done well against them in the past. They got this in the bag, but that to me was kind of embarrassing. You should not, against Arizona, it should not take you to overtime to beat the Coyotes. It shouldn't. I know that penalty against Patrick Kane was questionable, but the point is it shouldn't have taken you to overtime to beat them, especially when they were winning at one point. So yeah, that kind of stuff was disappointing to see. You should win games like that, and they're still not winning those games. So it's like, where are they going here? This direction is still, like I said, shows how far they still have to go as a team. But like I said, I got to give credit to Buffalo and the Coyotes. They've had a bad season, but they're still pulling out some good competition here. So good for them.
Yeah, it is tough to see them lose those kind of games because you feel like they should win. But gosh, maybe we're giving the Blackhawks too much credit. Who knows?
Yeah, that's probably true. We can't just bet on them anymore.
I would like to touch on something that was good from this past week, and that is Toews' 1,000th game celebration against the Arizona Coyotes. I had the pleasure of actually being at that game, and I have to tell you, it was just phenomenal to be there for that kind of history and to actually see, kind of up close and personal, Toews out on the ice there and being celebrated. It was just an awesome, awesome video montage. I think it's out on Twitter. I think you can see the whole thing that we actually saw there on the ice. And then, the fact that Brent Seabrook, Sharp, Marian Hossa, and Andrew Shaw, all of them there, Patrick Sharp, that was phenomenal to have them be out there. I think Toews said afterwards that he said Andrew Shaw can't keep a secret, so I think he knew who they were there.
Yeah.
But then Corey Crawford and Adam Bursch, they were not out on the ice, but they were up in the skybox, which they showed as well. So that's just really, really, really cool that Toews got to have that, and he deserves it. 1,000 games is tough to come by. He said rough couple years. And then they had to go and lose, like we just talked about, right? And believe it or not, the puck went off of Toews' skate for that winning game. So it's just really ironic. But let's not worry about that. It was a positive thing.
That's how it be sometimes, It's just how it is,
Is the way the world works, right?
Be like that.
All right, final shootout round for us today. We got a couple questions, quick fire questions, and let's start with number one. Even though Dominik Kubalik has had issues scoring this season, one of the prettier goals he had was against Dallas on December 18th. And they do play Dallas again this coming week. So the question is, will he score again against Dallas on Sunday, Brooke?
I'm going to say no. And it's not from lack of faith. It's just more like I just don't see it. I don't see it happening. Maybe against the Kraken, but I don't see it against Dallas. I don't know why.
Oh, okay. Well, I'm going to go the other way. I certainly hope he will use that as motivation. And seeing as he's only scored 2 goals in February and March. So I say, yes, it's going to happen. I just feel it. Okay. I'm going to give him
positive vibes.
Positive vibes.
Positive vibes.
We'll see what happens. Okay. Shootout question number 2. Rookie Alex Vlasic has been a healthy scratch 6 times since he made his debut on March 8th. What should be done with him? Should he maybe be incorporated in the lineup more or send him back down to Rockford?
At this point, he should be sent to Rockford, in my opinion. It's totally not fair to have someone be called up and then just sit in the press box doing nothing, especially for a rookie. I know Rockford, the Ice Hogs are in a playoff push right now. I think that makes more sense for him. Get him some more minutes if he's not going to get him here. So that's one thing with King I'm a little confused about. But at this point, I say if you're not going to play him, let him play in Rockford then.
Well, King has said that he doesn't think he's really NHL ready. So I think what they're kind of doing is waiting until Connor Murphy's ready to come back. And then they will probably send him to Rockford, but he's kind of in a tough spot because they've kind of already got their gel in Rockford. So who knows how much time he'll get there either. But hopefully, this is kind of a weird situation for him now, but hopefully he'll end up having a good year and find his fit next season.
Yeah.
Okay. Shootout question number 3. Calvin DeHaan has 2 goals in the last 4 games, and now that's 3 on the season. And he's only had 1 goal in each of the last 4 seasons. So it's kind of cool that he's on a bit of a run here. What do you think? Any more goals for Calvin DeHaan this year with the few games left?
Yes, I actually see maybe 1 more, only because he's been shooting the puck so much lately. It seems like every time he has the puck, he's shooting it. So you know what they say, you shoot the puck, anything can happen. So I say he's got 1 more up his sleeve. All of a sudden he's turning into Connor McDavid, and I kind of like it.
I'm going to give him 2, darn it. I'm going to give him 2. He's going to have 5 goals on the season. We'll see if.
Oh, I like it.
It would be fun if he did. It'd be cool to see. All right, we have our goaltender question now. Shootout question number 4. Since Marc-Andre Fleury left, Kevin Lincoln has suited up for 4 games, Colin Delia for 2. And we know that the team has said that they're really going to go with Lincoln for most of the starts. But Delia has played well and arguably is, deserves a little bit bigger look. So how do you think they're going to utilize these 2 for the rest of the season? 12 games left.
I still think that Lankinen is going to get the brunt of the starts. Maybe he'll get like 8, but like you said, I think I kind of want to see more of Delia, to be honest, too. And I like Lankinen. It's just like I said, if you're playing well, you deserve to play. That's just the way it is. So I still think he'll get most of the starts though. Like I said, maybe Lankinen 8, and then I guess Delia 4. Maybe that might be kind of generous. I don't know. We'll see.
That's actually funny that you should say that, because that's kind of what I was thinking as well. Is probably 8 for Lankinen and then the rest for Delia. But then again, they might lean on Lankinen for even more. So it'll be interesting to see, something to keep an eye on as the rest of the season unfolds. Okay, shootout question number 5, second to last one. Short week next week. The Blackhawks continue their homestand against Seattle Kraken on Thursday and Dallas Stars on Sunday. How many points for the Blackhawks? Our usual weekly question.
I actually was going to say 4 because they usually do well against Dallas and they've done pretty well against the Kraken except the last time they lost, but I can't bet on them anymore to win games that I think they should win. So I can't say that. So I'm going to say 2. I'm going to say a win against Dallas because for whatever reason, they just do good against Dallas.
They've got to win. They've got to win a game here. I mean, right? It was been 4 or 5 games that they've lost in a row now.
Yeah.
So I'm going to say the same thing too.
Can we win a game? Just one. That's
Woo,
it.
just one.
Just one. We don't ask for much. Just one.
Final shootout question. And this is kind of a good one, I think, because who the heck knows who's going to be around anymore. It's time for you to purchase your next Blackhawks jersey. And who are you going to choose?
I actually was thinking about this question like all day. I could not think because like you said, all the players you'd want to get a jersey for are not here anymore. And besides, DeBrincat's kind of a generic answer, so I kind of wanted to go a little different. Obviously, he's worth getting a jersey, but I don't know. I'm thinking, you know what? I'll just go old school. I'll go Stan Mikita. Let's just stick with the good times because he's a legend, and I'm just going to stick on that route. It's not a bad.
That's a safe route because, right? He's been around, right? You can't go wrong there.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I think I'm going to go with Taylor Radish just because I really like that last name. It's kind of fun. And I think he's going to be around for at least another couple of years. So that's my pick, Taylor Radish.
Oh, I like that pick. We love Radish here.
So that is a wrap, you guys. Thank you everybody for watching. And again, we're brought to you by the Hockey Writers, and we are here every week, Blackhawks Banter. And we're excited for next week's show. So come join us. Catch you next time.